Hey everyone, welcome back to The Mindful Hunter. I'm your host as always, Jay Nichol. Kind of exciting moment. This is the first video that I'm shooting in the new studio. Just gonna do a quick gear review. I'm pretty happy with the way everything's set up and everything's looking. Probably in a couple weeks, once things settle down for me a little bit, I'm gonna do a whole breakdown video of everything that I'm using in here, the camera I'm shooting on, the lights I'm using, how I set it up, the paint color, all that kind of stuff, how I've got it all wired. But for now, still ironing out a couple of the bugs, but overall, super excited with the way things are coming together. So, more to the point, today we are looking at the weBoost Drive Reach. So this is a cell phone booster, comes with 4 components. You have the amplifier, the antenna that goes on the exterior of your vehicle, the kind of transmitter puck that goes inside your vehicle, and then the actual power cord that goes to the like lighter slot in your vehicle. This thing retails for $6.99 Canadian. It's a 50 dB cell phone booster, so it's the most powerful vehicle booster that they sell. And let me start with a couple of things that I like and why I chose this particular model. Most cell phone boosters that I've seen come with a cradle, and you have to have your phone in that cradle for your phone to take advantage of the boosted signal. I don't like that for a couple reasons. One, lots of times there's a couple people in the car, I'm sure they would all enjoy having a boosted cell phone signal. Two, with the rate at which people swap cell phones these days, I just don't think it's practical to rely that or to count on having the exact same phone for multiple years and not having to switch out the cradle. So the fact that most systems relied on a cradle is actually what's held me back from getting a cell phone booster far earlier than this. So when this model came out, the fact that it was a 50 dB gain and the fact that it had this kind of transmitting puck that kind of boosts a general area were kind of 2 factors that were strong enough to make me pull the trigger on this particular model. So how does it work? Well, this is much like an old school car amp. You basically can slide this under the seat in your vehicle, or you could pop down the back seat in a pickup truck, and it's got some Velcro patches, and normally there's carpet there and you could mount it there. There's also some handy mounting strips that come in the case. And from there, you run this external cable to the roof of your vehicle. You plug it in here. It's got like a B and C connector. And then you just run it kind of up the side of your door jamb, and then it's got a magnet base, and you plug it on the roof. The other thing that I really liked is that it actually came with a couple of separate sticky magnets, like with adhesive on the back. And at first I didn't understand why it was there. And then I realized, oh, the cap on my truck is fiberglass. So if you wanted to mount this on the cap of your truck, you just put one of those adhesive magnets on your fiberglass cap, and then you could mount this there, which I really like because you could almost permanently mount it in the box of the vehicle and then just run this puck into the cab of the truck. And that would be one way to keep it out of your door jams. So I thought that was pretty cool. This puck then plugs into the amplifier unit, and you kind of run this out to the front of your vehicle. The other thing that I really like is all the cords are really long on each of these particular elements. So you got a lot of freedom with where you can place everything. Also came with some mounting strips, some double-sided tape for this puck, and it clearly indicates that this is the mounting side, which does kind of give the impression that there's some element of directionality to the boosted signal. And I'm gonna get into that in a moment. And then finally, this just goes to your old school car lighter. And I also love the fact that there's an on-off switch. The amplifier unit does get a little warm. I wouldn't leave this on unnecessarily. And lots of times you have great signal. So it was nice that when I noticed the signal start to drop, I could just reach behind me, flick this switch to on, amp would come on. Within 30 seconds, I'd have a bit of a boosted signal. And then when I didn't need it anymore, I would just switch it to off. I didn't have to unplug anything. I didn't have to unmount anything. It was like really simple and clean. Something else that's good to note is that it's 5G compatible. So I've had this in several different areas. I've had it 3G, LTE, 5G, tested them all. boosted them all. So I really like that. I think the build quality is quite high. I'm very happy. Everything feels really solid. The cables are really well constructed. They're shielded really nicely. All the connectors go in really solid. Like when you put the thing together, it feels like it's put together. One thing to note is there's definitely a proximity gain to be had with the puck. I did found the closer that you put your phone to this puck, the better the boosted signal you got, to the point where I could actually at one point, if I held this against the back of my phone, I could watch an additional bar come off. And then if I just had this in the truck and had the phone in my hand and I was 2 to 3 feet away, that extra bar would drop off. I would still have a boosted signal, but it wasn't as boosted. So if you're primarily by yourself, and what I'm gonna do with this is actually just mount this. I have a little cradle already for my iPhone, and I'm just gonna mount this on the dash directly behind that cradle. And there's no backing in my cradle, so there's no hard plastic that's gonna get in the way of the boosted signal. And then that way my phone, it'll take best advantage, and everybody else in this truck will still have a decent boosted signal. It's gotta go somewhere, so it might as well be in the spot where it's gonna benefit me the majority of the time. So most people are going to want to know, how much does this boost the signal? I can't really quantify that for you. What I would say is that if you're in the middle of nowhere and there's absolutely no cell signal, this is not going to magically get you cell signal. Where this thing really shined for me was in fringe territory. Like if you're in an area where calls are dropping on you, this is going to give you that extra 10 to 15 punch that's just going to let you hold calls. Or if you're in an area where you can make a phone call, but you can't check email or you have no access to data, this is probably gonna give you that extra 10 to 15% bump so that you can send text messages and check email. The most clear-cut test I had of this, I took my daughter camping, and where we were, there was this little area where you could walk up to the top of this hill and you would get a couple bars cell signal. But no one in the campground had cell signal. And when my truck was off and the booster was off, phones were dead. I couldn't text, I couldn't email, there were no bars, it saw no signal whatsoever. And then I turned the truck on and turned the booster on, and within 30 seconds, I would get 1 bar. And that was really when I realized how much the proximity issue could be used to your favor with the transmitter puck. Because even then, because I was so far away from good service, it was still a little bit sketchy. But if I just sat in the truck with my phone in my hand and put this puck behind my phone and kind of did my calling and texting like that, I would get 1 full bar. I could text, I could email, I could even check Instagram. It wasn't fast. I wouldn't be uploading long stories or videos or anything like that, that's for sure. But I could check it. If somebody sent me a DM, I could read it and reply. And so it was very functional. And I did several tests where I sat in the truck, I flicked the off switch, service disappeared. Turned the on switch back on, service came back on. So it's like, $6.99 might seem kind of pricey, and again, that's Canadian so for the American watchers, it's probably closer to $4.50 down there. It might seem a little steep, but man, was that convenient. Like I'd even pay a couple $100 just for 1 weekend of cells. Like the fact that I could, it was just me and my daughter and my wife wasn't there. The fact that we could text back and forth and my wife could check in and I could tell her when we were heading home. Like it's hard to put a price tag on that kind of stuff. I think the other function that deserves, mention is emergency situations. Also can't put a price tag on that. And if you were in a situation where you got stuck or had other need to call for help for some reason, if you could access additional signal in an area where you previously couldn't, I also think that's a pretty strong argument. So I don't really have any criticisms. I'm gonna have to give this like a 5 out of 5. It does everything that it says it does. The build quality is good. I think the price is fair to high. You're not gonna, there's nothing else in the market that works any better for any cheaper. So I would say the price is fair given what these things go for in this brand and among other brands. So that is the weBoost Drive Reach. If you're in the need for a cell phone booster, I highly recommend it. If you got any additional comments or questions, feel free to drop them in the comments section below. Would greatly appreciate a like and subscribe if you found this information useful, and thanks for watching.